Hi everyone, welcome. Today I am 44 years old. Yes, it's my birthday, and I have found myself somehow in the middle of my 40s and arguably in middle age. Now, this last few years I have gone through an enormous amount of change in terms of how I train and how I look and how I feel. So I thought I would take this opportunity on my birthday of all days to talk about getting older. Now, getting older does affect everyone, but it doesn't necessarily affect everyone in the same way. And this comes down to decisions. I've sort of traced it all the way back past McDonald's, back past beer, until I get to a point where it is simply decisions that determine how you look and how you feel. Now, it is quite common for people that when they sort of pass through school, they are blessed with a fantastic metabolism. You know, for the most part, assuming people eat right, they will pass through
school without too much bother. They will remain in a relatively healthy state, exceptions aside, of course. But there is this pattern, and it's quite common in sort of the more modern world. It's certainly prevalent here in the UK, whereby past 18 there seems to be a decline, and I can't really quite place why this occurs. There's loads of potential explanations. People blame all sorts of things, but ultimately, if you think about a standard man sort of passing through his life, he comes out of school and starts work. He starts to have girlfriends and eventually finds a partner, a long-term partner. They move in together, and a lot of the problems seem to start at this stage when people start courting. That's makes me sound 44 years old, doesn't it? Or dating or whatever. They generally do consume a lot, right? A lot of their other things, their other friends, their other hobbies, their other pastimes gets pushed to the side, and you are very focused on the objective of acquiring this person to be your partner, right? And this is common. It happened to me, it's happened to all my friends, it's happened to a lot of people I know, and it's going to be common to a lot of people out there too. When you get a house and you sort of start to feather the nest, that thing starts to happen more sort of in your own house. This happened to me when I got my first house. It was very much drinking wine all the time, eating quite badly all of the time. And if I hadn't been sort of very observant and switched on to what was happening, I might have let myself go at this point. And this is where a lot of people are different to me. They don't care. I cared at the time. And so people will continue to overconsume alcohol, overconsume junk food and calories, essentially just over excess. And they head down this path where inevitably you will start to put on weight. And this video isn't about putting on weight, it's about getting older. And so in your 20s, you still got quite a good metabolism. Blokes still have quite a high level of testosterone. And in my 20s, I was rubbish. I did go to the gym and I did run occasionally, but this was almost immediately offset by what I was eating and drinking. So I held level just about. In fact, my training, when I look back on it now, is embarrassing. If I go back in time and say, Martin, just do this thing, I just follow this trajectory, you'd be bloody awesome. But I didn't, because I had no one to guide me, and there weren't the opportunities that there is available now. There was no Spartan race, there was no hyrox, there wasn't any of this stuff that I do now. Then the gym, all I wanted to do was put on a little bit of muscle so I looked just a little bit better than everybody else. And that in part was mainly just vanity. I just wanted to fluff up my feathers, puff out my chest and go get a girlfriend, which up until that point I hadn't been very good at. And this is quite common. You see lots of young men trying to look really hot, you know, and it's more prevalent nowadays with social media. They're just trying to look ripped and shredded, and to the point where they're almost not that fussed about girlfriends or boyfriends or whatever. They're just not interested because they're so self-obsessed. This leads us to when you're in a relationship. Let's go back to that. We're in a relationship and you both put on weight. And a lot of people will recognize this at some point and steer off away from the bad path onto a good path. They'll find out how to do good routines. They'll learn how to cook. And
obviously this comes back down to decisions, right? At some point you have to make a decision to eat well, you have to make a decision to go bed early, you have to make a decision to drink lots of water, blah blah blah. There's a million decisions every day that define how we look, and it's not just one decision, it's a culmination of thousands of decisions over hundreds of days, over thousands of days, that make changes to our physical state. But as you get older, so let's talk about the next decade, right? 30s, right? When I first started my 30s, I discovered a few things, right? I had recently got with my good lady, she was my girlfriend then, but she's now my wife. So I started to do obstacle course racing, and I loved it. I still love it. It's fantastic. And I will still take in anywhere between sort of 5 and 10 obstacle course races in a year. Sort of squeeze them in wherever I can. I take my wife and I take my friends, and we have a great time. But ultimately, despite it being a physical challenge for some, I don't find them very physically challenged anymore. And as my 30s sort of ticked on, I would do more of those things. But in my 30s, sort of the standoff fitness thing for me was I found strongman training. And for five straight years, that's all I did, right? I gave up all running aspirations aside from the odd OCR, and I would just strongman. Max lift stuff, squatting, deadlifts, bench press, and it got to the more exotic strongman stuff like log press, tire flips, Conan's wheel, Atlas stones, all the stuff you see on World's Strongest Man. We were doing them every session. It was a focus every session, and I got hella strong. The strongest I've ever been in my life and will ever be. And as I went through my 30s, the diet that accompanies strongman training is terrible, right? More calories equals more strength. That's why guys that do strongman training are like barrel-shaped humans, but they're hella strong, right? They're just so strong, and that comes from a lot of what they consume. Again, it comes back to those decisions. Those guys and I made those decisions to consume that many calories to get stronger. Now, I got injured, and this was something that took me by surprise, and I hadn't anticipated it happening, and it took the decision to carry on doing strongman out of my hands. I couldn't do it anymore. It was a shoulder injury, and for a couple of years it was really painful. I even went and had minor surgery, like to inject dye into the joint and have it x-rayed, and it was apparently a minor tear in my rotator cuff, but it was causing me so much grief for so long, and in certain situations now I can still feel it. And so I had to walk away from strongman training. But I hadn't necessarily walked away from the habits that I'd picked up, so the diet, and relative to that was all the excess weight that I'd gained. I'd gained loads of extra weight. I'd gone from sort of my 82 kilo natural standard weight to just shy of 100 kilos, and I carried it bad. For a guy with a very weak jaw, you put on a few pounds and your neck just looks like a sausage. You lose all definition in your neck. You can't tell where your neck ends and your head begins. And I didn't like how I looked, right? And I had to address it before it started to affect my health. So the way that I knew to sort of drop weight fastest was through running.
Come on, sprint it!
So I flipped to running, and at this point in my early, mid-30s by this point, I found parkrun. So me and Holly would go to parkrun. It was quite far away at this point because there wasn't many parkruns back then, and we would go there every week, and I would buddy this up with a couple of week runs. And over 6 months, my weight started to come down, and my times were getting faster at parkrun. And toward my late 30s, I needed a little bit of an oomph, so I joined a running club. And this is something that really changed how I looked at running. I learned so much so fast. It was about structure, it was about variety, it was about camaraderie, and it was about social running, and it was about speed work and hill work and intervals, and there was so much opportunity to run in different styles and train in different ways, and it was great. And I got really good at running over the next few years as a result of it. And then COVID struck, bang on my 40th year. It ruined all plans for my 40th birthday in 2020, should I say. And
During that period, we couldn't do much. We couldn't go to the gym, couldn't train. So I just went running, run, every day, every single day, anywhere between sort of 3 miles and 10 miles. I was just doing runs every day. And all that remaining weight, in fact, I sort of went straight through my sort of moderate weight into lightweight. I was starting to look like the lightest I've ever been, but I was also the fastest I'd ever been. When parkrun started back up and things started to sort of even out again, I was returning to parkrun. I noticed my times were good, really good, and so I was then motivated to pursue those activities. So I was going out to parkrun each week, trying to find more time, and I did. I got better and better and better. Now, with all the road running stuff, and I started to do my OCRs again, I was kind of itching for something new. And so I sort of reached out sort of on the internet to sort of try and find something new, and Facebook slapped me in the face with a big fat advert for hyrox. And this was my introduction into hybrid fitness events. So for a couple of years I did these. I found them fantastic, extremely tough, but gave me razor sharp focus of stuff to train for. And then I went to 2, I went to 4, I went to 8. I've done 10 now, and I've got 2 more booked. So obviously I like doing those things. I find them very challenging, but I appreciate the sort of time and effort that goes into those processes. Keeps me sharp. Again, it comes back to decisions. I made a conscious decision to seek something out and pursue it. And so I continue to do that. Now, more recently, it's been harder to get tickets for hyrox, so I've been sort of branching out once again, making more decisions, trying to find other things to sort of fill my time, fill my calendar, to stay sort of active, well, proactive about what I'm doing each year. So to that end, I've already taken part in 2 hyroxes this year, but on the calendar, I've had nuclear fits, 2 of those. I've got Deadly Dozen, I've done a Decker event, so my hybrid fitness journey is still blossoming, if you will. I've still got lots more to sort of do, lots more time to find. I know I can be fitter than I am already. And that sort of brings us up to date. I now have 2 kids, I now have a house, I have a YouTube channel, and this video, it comes back to aging, right? I go back right back to the start. There's lots of decisions that have brought me to this point, and I am in my 40s, my mid-40s, right? Middle-aged. When you think about people in middle age, you think of much older people. You think grey hair, balding head, sorry, bald guys. You think, you just think loads of wrinkles and really worn out looking people, and with beer bellies, and there's the perceptions of, everyone has their own perceptions of what guys in their 40s looks like. And I do try to not lean into those perceptions. I like to try to remain as fit and as active as I can be. I like to remain as youthful in appearance as I can be, simply because, getting older is terrifying, and I'm no different. I think I'm doing okay. I mean, I've made a lot of good decisions up until this point. For example, I cut out beer and wine at the best part of a decade ago. I mean, I will have the odd one here and there, but for the most part, I leave those calorie drinks alone. Aside from that, my food is vegetarian, and it has been since I was 6. I've never smoked, I've never done drugs. I've always tried to remain on the healthy side of those decisions. If I feel that I'm putting on a little bit of weight around, and I have felt this just recently, with regards to my belly, I've been sort of noticing that I've been losing definition. I've sort of been leaning over my belt line a little bit. So I'm taking proactive decisions to sort of cut back on my food, increase my running and things like that. The things that I'm training for at the moment sort of help with that, because I have some ultra marathons at the end of this year, so I have lots of miles to run each and every week. So it's about those decisions, right? My channel has always been about trying to promote and help and motivate others sort of on a similar journey in the 30s and the 40s and the 50s, men, women, it doesn't really matter. Just about using your fitness for enriching your life with adventure, right? There's loads of adventure out there that can be found just on your own 2 feet.
And I've always said running enables those adventures for me, because I can get to places on my feet that people can't get to in cars. They can't get to in any other way. And the things I've seen in the places I've been to, other people will just never be able to do it because they can't be bothered and they just sit at home and watch TV. So I'm 44, the fittest I've ever been, and I still strive to be fitter than I am today. I look at people that are older than me and fitter than me, and I'm motivated by them. I've always been more motivated by people that are in touching distance, if that makes sense. I don't look necessarily at Olympians and I'm motivated by them. I'm motivated by a guy that's 5 years older than me and 2 minutes faster over a 5k. They're the people that I gain inspiration from. I see people that are older and fitter than me as a great sign that I can be fit in my 50s and 60s. I guess if you're in your 40s and you're on a similar journey to me, that you're relatively fit, I applaud you, because I think we're in the minority. What I have learned from going to competitions like hyrox and stuff, that brings all of those sort of fit 40-year-olds together. There are loads overall, but in the sort of general population, there are few, and they are still delivering extraordinary results with regards to fitness and performance. So, and it makes me look bad when I then stand among them in a competitive sense. But that's okay. Every single person is on their own journey, and some people are more competitive than others. I do it for my own health and my own well-being, and the competitions and the events that I do are just sort of focus points, waypoints in the year, stuff to train for, conquer, and move on to the next. That is probably my greatest bit of advice. If you are a guy sort of in middle age and you want to start on your sort of fitness journey, or you're trying to up your fitness journey, the things I advise sort of straight off the bat, without even thinking about it, running clubs. Remember what I said, running enables adventure, right? If you want to get out, you want to go do a 20-mile Peak District run, which I completely recommend, by the way, get your running up. Get it up to 10 miles, up to 15 miles. Pack your bag, pack the car, and go up to the Peak District, get it run. If you want to start taking part in hyrox events, most people, assuming that you've got a basic level of fitness, could just go and do it, assuming you can get a ticket. If not, go to one of the others. Nuclear Fit, go to Deadly Dozen. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter if you're good at it. It doesn't matter if you're terrible at it. It's better that you do it rather than just sit at home wondering whether or not you should do it and then eventually talking yourself out of it. The thing is about being in middle age, we don't necessarily have the privilege of having decades and decades and decades left. Time is sort of slipping through the hourglass, and there's only a finite amount of time that you'll have sort of functional fitness years left in you. And there will be plenty of time after that to sit on your arse and do absolutely nothing. So it's about acting now and getting out in the world and starting to generate a sort of a catalogue of memories that you can dip into when you're sitting on your arse in an old person's home a little bit down the road. Don't find yourself in that position in old age, where you are just sort of shrouded in regret for all the things that you've seen other people do and you've missed out on because you've talked yourself out of them. So I guess that's a wonderful place to finish. It's all down to decisions. Make good decisions for yourself. This will obviously then be good for your family, your other half, your children. It means you'll have a greater quality of life. You might even live a little bit longer. Thank you for watching this. This was just a reflection on getting older, looking back at some of the stuff that I've done and why I'm at the point I am now. I don't ever want to tell anyone what to do, except for go get something booked and go do something cool. All right, happy birthday to me, and I will see you in my next video soon. All right, Mart out.